Hello, everybody. Let's have a look at the timeline of the play. There's a lot of kind of looking back at things that happened in the past, and the fact that it's set in 1912, written in 1945, which we've already covered, um, adds more layers of confusion. So let me just lay out the timeline for you. Before I do that, though, it's interesting to think about the fact that you are reading a play and not a novel. Okay, so a play really should be um, performed, you should see it performed, but obviously you're reading it. And reading a play is quite different to reading a novel. Plays are written to be performed, and as such, a degree of interpretation is required. So you should be taking careful note of the stage directions and also the ways in which the characters deliver the lines along with their actual words, because those are the only insights we have into their real thoughts and feelings. Now, when characters are talking about various things that happen at various times, it gets a little bit complex. So let me just go through a timeline in chronological order that we know from the play, because I think it'll help us to just get our head around, what happens when. So going back in time, September 1910 is where Mr. Burling sacks Eva. A couple of months later in the December, Eva works for Millwoods, and in the end of January, she's sacked from Millwoods, and of course, Sheila is responsible for that. Then it's a few months later, March 1911, where Eva becomes Gerald's mistress. September 1911, so that's quite a long, protracted period of time, Gerald breaks off his affair with Eva, and Eva leaves Brumley for 2 months. A couple of months later, then in November 1911, Eric meets Eva. In around December 1911 or perhaps January 1912, Eva finds out she's pregnant. And then in March, a couple of months after that, Eva asks for help from the Brumley Women's Charity Organisation, but Mrs. Burling refuses because Eva gives the name of Mrs. Burling. And then in April 1912, Eva commits suicide and the inspector calls. Now, this timeline shows you nicely on the screen, and this is from Mr. Bruff's Guide to an Inspector Calls, which you can get at mrbruff.com or Amazon. But this timeline shows you nicely two things. Number one, it makes it very clear visually how everybody is responsible for the death of Eva, how you couldn't pin that on one person. Everybody had a part to play. But number two, it highlights how tragic the existence of Eva has been. Because really, from September 1910 to almost 2 years later, when she commits suicide, she had an awful time. And it really does make you think about the fact that any one of those isolated moments might not have made her do what she did. But all of them together, the cumulative and combined effect, makes her commit suicide. And the challenge to the audience and the challenge to us, of course, is that when we meet somebody, anybody in any context, we don't know what their timeline is. We don't know what's gone before and what's going to happen afterwards. And we should deal with people fairly. We should care for people in an attitude of social responsibility.